Here I am suddenly single, and I haven't done a video of this nature for quite a while. And I just actually watched a little bit of what I did, and I kind of want to return to that mode of communication. And that reason kind of that I started all this was to just talk about life, talk about myself. I know it's self-indulgent, grief is self-indulgent, but yet and still, the purpose of this podcast, I don't know why that word escapes me sometimes, because I am doing a blog too. The blog is written, the podcast is this. The reason I'm doing it is to talk to people. And as I mentioned, my best friend, my best female friend of 50 years, and I were having great conversations, and she was the one who said, well, maybe we should do a podcast. Well, here I am by myself. So she's a lot more entertaining, but we'll move on. I think what I want to try to say here is that I really felt like I was talking to myself, that this was going to continue to be essentially anonymous. And then, quite honestly, one of you subscribed and made some very, very sweet and considerate comments about this blog and about me, and it made me feel good. And it made me feel, I don't know, it just had a nice feeling. And what if somebody said, well, you're an idiot, what a jerk you are. I guess that would have hurt my feelings, and I don't know what I would have done. But I guess my theory is I would have gone on, because people have the right to say what they think and say it, I guess, in this social media context. Uh, I love Taylor Swift too, and she said that haters gonna hate, 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 and that's what it is. They're gonna hate. That's what they do. That's their role, and you just got to shake it off. And we loved that song. I mean, that was maybe, I don't know, 5 years ago. I was riding bikes with my next door neighbors, and they're very avid cyclists. And boy, we would ride, and enter these races and all this good stuff. But essentially, the term shake it off was everything, from physical fatigue to emotional duress. And then when you're dealing with the loss of your spouse, the loss of a friend, the loss of anybody, anything, there is a certain level of loss and pain that you're going to feel. And I'm not saying that this is advice for the sages or the ages, but there is something to it. Eventually, you do have to shake it off. I'm watching the TV behind me, which I have muted, and it'll only be a matter of seconds till my dog starts howling. Nonetheless, this friendship that I've now developed with this individual, and she knows who she is, this is a platonic relationship, and I have a few people, a few females that have been very kind and considerate towards me, but it is platonic. And gosh, Seinfeld. Well, now I'm watching Seinfeld, and he says, "Here's a guy whose a relationship was actually named after him," and he was just funny, and I'm not, so I won't go into it. But I never thought of it before, and it's very true. But what we mean by platonic, it's not romantic, and that's really what I'm saying. I am essentially too old to feel the need to become romantically involved with somebody. And when I say that, let's face it, I mean sexually. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at any age, let alone my age or maybe beyond. But I don't have any kind of driving force in that area. And I feel very liberated just in that alone. And now I've said it, so now it's out there. But it's kind of a liberating feeling. And this is why, because you get to know another person as another person. And you're not obsessed with, oh my gosh, am I going to score? What's going to happen? Are we going to date? Are we going to go steady? Are we going to do this? How many dates until we do that? And I have to be honest, back in the 30s, it was like that. Back in the 20s, back in the teens, give us a break. But the point is, now in my 70s, I'm not thinking about that. And I'm not rejecting it. I'm not saying, oh, never, or anybody who does it is wrong. No, I'm just saying I feel liberated from that. We'll call it a teenage invested drive that you have that stays with you. that kind of overshadows a lot of other elements of what could be a very good relationship. And so my feeling now, and especially after a long marriage, is I've done that. I've seen all sides of it, and I've seen all the good. I've seen a little bit of the bad. I don't want to. I think I was very lucky. We were very lucky in that sense. But we certainly had our ups and downs, and we had our arguments, and we had our issues. And the irony of it is that we survived it because we stuck together. People say stay together for the sake of the kids. Not a bad mantra for that. It's a pretty good idea. That's not all there is to it, but sometimes that is kind of what pulls you through, maybe, is your sense of responsibility. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now and I'm still kind of that way. I mean, really, even now with my adult child, who's now, gosh, a lot older, or should I say, anyway, she's in her 40s and older than I was when I got married, of course. But my point is, she seems to be having a very happy and productive marriage with the kids that she loves, and they drive her crazy. Now she maybe knows how she drove us crazy, but also she knows the intense love that you have for your children. It really goes beyond any other definition of love. You just love your children. And if I repeat myself, shoot me, fine. But, like I said, as a guy going into marriage, I was not saying, oh my gosh, I want to have a baby. I wasn't really even thinking about it. I was going in there to be daddy because of the circumstances where my wife-to-be had a child, had a son, and I hit it off with him right from Jump Street, and I felt like, oh sure, I'll be your daddy. I'll do what daddies do, and I did. I mean, we went to all the softball games, all the baseball games, and he got into BMX bike riding, and I mean, I really made a point to be involved, and it was great. My dad worked all the time, and he didn't have time to be that involved, but he still loved me, and everything was good. Um, that's a whole nother episode in life. Everything was good. Yeah, it was good. It's father and son. You butt heads because he's trying to make you grow up and be responsible. Mom, in the meantime, is saying, "Oh, he's my darling son. Leave him alone. Don't be so hard on him." And I say, "Well, thank God for fathers." But anyway, bottom line there is that I went in with the full intention of being a good father. I feel like I was. Things didn't work out quite the way you would hope in the long run. But I think, like everybody's life, it follows a certain pattern or trajectory or whatever. And you make decisions along the way. And some of them are good and some of them...
Here is your reminder.
Oh, I'm getting
Take
reminded
out
by... That's a good one. We'll leave it in.
Here is your reminder.
Oh, she won't let it
Take out
go.
the garbage.
Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd have to be reminded of that, but days melt together, and I was concerned with it being whatever it is, 40 below zero. No, hey, and to real weather people, you don't just take a stab at it; you have to justify and verify it. But I think it's in the 20s or a little less. It's cold out, and it gets dark early, and I didn't want for the day to slip away, and all of a sudden I wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, "Oh my God, I got to take the garbage out." So there's your Trivial Pursuit. I think what I want to say, because I know now that I will have listeners, and I don't want to say your name because I do want to protect your privacy, but it means a tremendous amount to me. It means a lot. And I think that what I feel is a true friendship, and that comes from sharing true feelings and true experiences. And like I said in my first one, and like I've said on the side, I'm not trying to win you over. I'm not. If it happens because you actually like who I am, then that's a good thing. But part of me almost wants to, turn you off in a lot of ways. My feeling of friendships and romances and everything else is we go in too bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, too naive, too expecting that everybody's gonna, or that now that we found each other, we're gonna finish each other's sentences for life. My every thought, my every mood. You're just like me. You're just wonderful. And when that starts to fade away, you think the love is fading away, and some people overreact to that. I think it's when that romantic love fades away that the real love starts to settle in, because real love requires a lot of responsibility and a lot of regular days, regular boring days. And, you know, that's life. And that's the beauty of being single. You do have to learn to entertain yourself and be yourself. And if you're lucky enough to find a partner who supports that, allows that, and has that in her own heart, then I think you really found something. So, oh my gosh, here we go again. I make what's the word? Oh, disclaimers. I disclaim everything. I am not giving advice. I am not setting a role model or example or anything whatsoever. I'm just sitting here, just, regular guy, suddenly single, talking to the camera, and going to push send to put it out there. And but I do feel a sincerity when I say that I care how you feel when you're a good person and you're saying how you feel and expressing your own life stories. That does mean something to me. I don't take it for granted. I don't minimize it. I think very highly of you who take that risk to share your own secrets, your own soul. And, I think that we should love each other. And I do call upon Jesus for the examples that he gave and the words that he used. Love thy neighbor as thyself, but do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which means treat other people the way you would like to be treated. So the hater's going to hate, hate, hate. I don't know. Are they experiencing that? Is that why they're doing that? We don't know. But for those of us who need to love each other and love ourselves, we really do just need to shake it off. So on that note, we're going to shake me off. I'm going to push stop, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and push send. And thanks for listening. Night, night.